You wake up every morning with the same quiet promise to yourself. Today will be different. Today you will finally get your life in order. Yet here you are, weeks later, months later, still drowning in the same chaos that follows you from room to room, from task to task, from one broken commitment to the next. You are tired of being tired. Tired of the mental fog that comes from living in disorder. Tired of feeling like you are constantly reacting to life instead of creating it. But what if I told you that the person you see in the mirror each morning is not who you truly are? What if that scattered, overwhelmed version of yourself is nothing more than a temporary visitor in the body of someone far more powerful? Someone who commands their environment, their time, their very existence with the precision of a master craftsman? The truth that most people will never understand is this: your external world is nothing more than a reflection of your internal state. When you organize your life, you are not simply rearranging furniture or cleaning out drawers. You are declaring war on mediocrity. You are choosing to become the architect of your own destiny, rather than a victim of circumstance. What you are about to discover are 10 fundamental keys that will transform you from someone who hopes for change into someone who creates it. These are not mere tips or suggestions. They are the building blocks of a completely different identity. An identity that commands respect, starting with your own. This is not about becoming perfect. This is about becoming intentional. This is about understanding that every moment you allow chaos to reign in your life, you are surrendering your power to forces that care nothing for your dreams, your goals, or your potential. The time for waiting is over. The time for wishing things were different has passed. If you are ready to stop being a spectator in your own life and start being the person you were meant to become, then you belong here. Subscribe now, because what we are about to build together is not just an organized life. It is an organized mind, an organized spirit, and the unshakable foundation upon which all lasting success is built. Number 1, wake up and take control. You have been waiting for someone to rescue you from the mess you call your life, waiting for the perfect moment when motivation strikes like lightning and suddenly everything falls into place. Waiting for that magical day when your boss will appreciate you, your partner will understand you, or some guru will hand you the secret formula that will transform your existence overnight. But here is the truth that will either liberate you or terrify you. No one is coming. No knight in shining armor, no fairy godmother, no wise mentor who will wave a magic wand and organize your chaos for you. The person you have been waiting for is staring back at you in the mirror every morning, and that person has been there all along. Your outer world is nothing more than a perfect photograph of your inner world. Every cluttered room, every missed deadline, every broken promise you have made to yourself is a reflection of the disorder that lives within your mind. The chaos surrounding you did not happen to you. You created it, piece by piece, choice by choice, day by day. Think of your life as a garden. A garden left unattended does not remain neutral. It does not simply stay the same, waiting patiently for better times. No, it becomes overgrown with weeds. The beautiful flowers you once planted become choked by the very neglect you justified as being too busy, too stressed, too overwhelmed to care for what matters. I once knew a man who blamed his failures on everything and everyone around him. His job was too demanding, his family too needy, his circumstances too difficult. For years he lived in this prison of excuses, growing more bitter with each passing season. Then one day, looking at his reflection in a broken mirror in his cluttered apartment, something shifted. He realized that every single element of his misery was a choice he had made or continued to make. In that moment of brutal honesty, he found his power. The moment you stop waiting for time to heal your wounds and start taking responsibility for the healing, everything changes. Time is not your friend when it comes to disorder. Time does not organize your desk, pay your bills, or repair your relationships. Time, left to its own devices, only amplifies chaos. Procrastination is not a delay tactic. It is a destroyer of dreams. The Stoic philosophers understood this truth centuries ago. They knew that the only freedom worth having is the freedom that comes from self-discipline. When you discipline yourself to take control of your environment, your schedule, your choices, you are not restricting your freedom, you are creating it. But here is where most people stumble. They refuse to look in the mirror and see their own reflection in their circumstances. They prefer the comfortable lie that life is happening to them rather than the uncomfortable truth that they are happening to life. This self-deception is more dangerous than any external enemy because it robs you of your most precious possession, your power to change. Chaos is not bad luck. Chaos is not a mysterious force that randomly selects certain people to torment. Chaos is the natural result of a mind that refuses to take charge, a spirit that chooses comfort over growth, a person who mistakes motion for progress and busyness for productivity. When you finally acknowledge that you are both the problem and the solution, something magnificent happens. You stop being a victim and become a creator. You stop waiting for permission to live your life and start living it. You stop hoping that circumstances will change and start changing them. The first step toward organizing your life is the hardest step you will ever take, not because it requires special skills or knowledge, but because it requires something far more challenging. Complete honesty about who you are and who you have been. It requires you to look at your life without excuses, without blame, without the comfortable stories you tell yourself about why things are the way they are. But in that moment of raw truth, you will discover something extraordinary. If you have the power to create chaos, you have the power to create order. If you have the ability to destroy your own peace, you have the ability to build it. The same mind that led you into the wilderness can lead you out of it. This is not about perfection. This is about ownership. This is about standing up in your own life and declaring that from this moment forward, you are in charge. The chaos stops here. The excuses end now. The waiting is over. Today, you wake up. Today, you take control. Number 2, your agenda is your soul. Show me your calendar, and I will show you your soul. Show me how you spend your hours, and I will tell you who you really are beneath all the stories you tell yourself about who you want to become. Your schedule is not a neutral document. It is a confession, a declaration, a mirror that reflects your deepest values, whether you realize it or not. You say you value your health, yet your calendar shows no time for exercise, no space for nourishing meals, no moments of rest that restore your body and mind. You claim your family is your priority, yet your days are consumed by obligations that keep you from the very people you say matter most. You speak of dreams and aspirations, yet your hours are filled with activities that move you further away from everything you claim to desire. This is the great deception of modern life. We have confused being busy with being productive, motion with progress, and a full calendar with a meaningful life. We pack our days so tightly with tasks that we forget to leave room for purpose. We schedule every minute except the minutes that would actually transform us. Think of your day as a canvas and each hour as a brushstroke. The master painter does not randomly throw paint at the canvas hoping something beautiful will emerge. Every stroke is intentional, every color chosen with purpose, every space left empty, as important as every space filled. Your life deserves the same level of intentionality. There was once a successful businessman who prided himself on his productivity. His calendar was a masterpiece of efficiency. Every moment accounted for, every meeting perfectly timed. Yet at the end of each day, he felt empty, drained, as if he had been running a race in the wrong direction. One evening, exhausted and confused, he asked himself a simple question: if someone studied my calendar for a week, what would they conclude I value most? The answer horrified him. According to his schedule, he valued other people's emergencies more than his own dreams, other people's agendas more than his own growth, other people's definitions of success more than his own peace. The transformation of your life begins with the transformation of your schedule. But this is not about time management techniques or productivity apps. This is about soul management. This is about ensuring that the way you spend your days reflects the person you are becoming, not the person you have always been. Brian Tracy understood this truth when he observed that every minute of your day is either building the life you want or destroying it. There is no neutral time. Every hour you invest in activities that align with your values is an hour that compounds into the person you are becoming. Every hour you waste on meaningless tasks is an hour stolen from your future self. The secret is not to manage your time, but to design it. To approach each day not as a series of random events that happen to you, but as a carefully crafted experience that you create. This means making space for what truly matters, time to think deeply, time to create something meaningful, time to care for your body, time to nurture the relationships that sustain you. Most people fill their calendars with urgency and wonder why they never make progress on what is truly important. They respond to every email immediately, but never write the book that lives in their heart. They attend every meeting they are invited to, but never schedule time to plan their own future. They are always available for other people's crises, but never available for their own growth. The practical transformation begins with a simple but revolutionary act. Start each day with your most important and difficult tasks. Before you check your email, before you respond to other people's agendas, before you get swept away by the current of urgency that will try to carry you through another meaningless day, you invest your best energy in what matters most. This single habit will change everything. It will transform your relationship with productivity from something that happens to you into something you create. It will shift your focus from reacting to life to designing it. It will turn your calendar from a list of obligations into a blueprint for becoming. But remember, the goal is not to become a machine that executes tasks with perfect efficiency. The goal is to become a person whose days reflect their deepest values, whose schedule serves their highest aspirations, whose time is invested in activities that honor both who they are and who they are becoming. When your agenda aligns with your soul, something beautiful happens. You stop feeling like you are living someone else's life and start living your own. You stop feeling busy and start feeling purposeful. You stop wondering where your time went and start knowing exactly where it is going. Your agenda is your autobiography written in real time. Make it a story worth reading. Number 3, create rituals for morning and night. You wake up and immediately reach for your phone, flooding your mind with other people's thoughts before you have even formed your own. You go to bed scrolling through endless feeds, filling your last conscious moments with noise instead of peace. You begin each day on autopilot and end each day in chaos, then wonder why your life feels out of control. The way you begin and end your day determines the quality of everything that happens in between. These are not just arbitrary moments when you happen to be awake or asleep. These are sacred transitions, opportunities to set the tone for your entire existence, chances to remind yourself who you are and who you are becoming. Most people surrender these precious moments to whatever demands their attention loudest. They start their day reacting to emails, news, and other people's emergencies. They end their day consumed by entertainment that numbs their mind rather than nourishing their soul. They live their entire lives in the space between other people's agendas, never creating space for their own thoughts, their own peace, their own power. But the person who understands the value of ritual, who approaches these transitions with intention and reverence, discovers something extraordinary. They find that they can create a foundation of calm and clarity that supports them through whatever storms the day may bring. They learn that consistency in small things creates strength for big things. Imagine your morning ritual as lighting a sacred fire that will burn within you throughout the day. When you begin with intention, when you give yourself the gift of a few quiet moments to connect with your deeper self, you are not just starting your day, you are starting your life. You are choosing consciousness over autopilot, purpose over chaos, creation over reaction. I knew a woman who transformed her entire existence by changing just the first 30 minutes of her day. Instead of rushing into the demands of her busy life, she created a simple ritual. She would wake up 15 minutes earlier, sit quietly with her thoughts, write down 3 things she was grateful for, and set an intention for the day ahead. This small act of self-respect rippled through every area of her life. Her relationships improved, her work became more focused, her stress diminished, not because 30 minutes changed everything, but because 30 minutes of intention created a different kind of person. Your morning ritual does not need to be complicated or time-consuming. It needs to be yours. It might be as simple as taking 5 deep breaths before getting out of bed, stretching your body with gratitude, or writing down your thoughts before the world intrudes. The power is not in the specific activities, but in the intentionality behind them. When you begin your day with ritual, you are sending a clear message to your unconscious mind. I am in charge here. I do not begin this day as a victim of circumstances, but as the creator of my experience. I do not wait for the world to tell me how to feel, but choose my own state of being. The evening ritual is equally transformative, but serves a different purpose. While the morning ritual ignites your inner fire, the evening ritual helps you reflect on the flames that burned throughout the day. It is a time to honor what you accomplished, learn from what challenged you, and prepare your mind for restorative rest. Too many people end their day by filling their minds with stimulation, news that agitates them, entertainment that numbs them, or work that never truly ends. They go to bed with their minds racing, their hearts heavy, their spirits disconnected from any sense of peace or progress. Then they wake up tired, not just in body but in soul. The evening ritual creates closure. It draws a sacred boundary between the day that is ending and the rest that is beginning. It might involve writing down 3 lessons you learned, 3 things you are grateful for, or 3 intentions for tomorrow. It might be as simple as taking a few minutes to breathe deeply and reflect on the person you were today and the person you are becoming. The key to both morning and evening rituals is consistency, not perfection. You do not need to perform them flawlessly every single day. You need to return to them again and again, especially when life feels chaotic, especially when you feel like you do not have time for such things. These are precisely the moments when ritual becomes most powerful. When you create these bookends of intention around your day, something profound happens. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you are happening to life. You begin to move through your hours with purpose rather than being dragged through them by circumstance. These rituals become anchors in the storm, reminders of who you are when the world tries to tell you who you should be. They create a sense of control and calm that no external circumstance can shake because they come from within you, from your commitment to treating yourself with the respect and care you deserve. Start small. Begin tomorrow. Create a simple ritual that honors the beginning of your day and another that honors its end. Watch how these small acts of self-respect transform not just your mornings and evenings, but the entire space between them. Your life deserves the dignity of intention. Give it that gift. Number 4, organize your physical and digital space. You cannot think clearly in a cluttered space any more than you can see clearly through a dirty window. Your environment is not neutral. It is either supporting your highest aspirations or sabotaging them. Every object in your space, every file on your computer, every notification on your phone is either contributing to your peace of mind or stealing from it. Look around you right now. What does your space say about your state of mind? Is it a sanctuary that inspires and energizes you, or is it a reflection of internal chaos? Are the things surrounding you tools that serve your purpose, or are they distractions that pull you away from what matters most? The relationship between your external environment and your internal clarity is not coincidental. It is fundamental. When your physical space is organized, your mind finds it easier to organize thoughts. When your digital environment is streamlined, your attention can focus on what truly deserves it. When you remove the excess, you create room for the essential. Yet most people live surrounded by objects they do not need, digital files they will never open again, and possessions that possess them rather than serve them. They wonder why they feel scattered and overwhelmed while sitting in the middle of physical and digital chaos they have created and continue to tolerate. Your living space should breathe with possibility, not suffocate with stuff. Every item you keep should earn its place by either serving a practical function or bringing you genuine joy. Everything else is not just clutter. It is an energy drain, a visual reminder of decisions delayed and choices avoided. I remember visiting the home of a successful entrepreneur who seemed to have everything anyone could want: expensive furniture, the latest gadgets, rooms full of possessions that spoke of material success. Yet he confided that he felt constantly anxious in his own home, unable to relax or think clearly. As we walked through his space, the reason became clear. Every surface was covered with objects. Every room was packed with things he had bought but never truly chosen to keep. His home had become a warehouse rather than a sanctuary. When he finally committed to keeping only what served his life and removing the rest, he described the feeling as breathing freely for the first time in years. The same principle applies to your digital environment. Your computer desktop, your email inbox, your smartphone are either tools of empowerment or sources of distraction. How many apps do you have that you never use? How many files are cluttering your digital space like weeds in a garden? How many notifications are interrupting your thoughts throughout the day? Your digital space is an extension of your mind. When it is cluttered with unnecessary files, bombarded with irrelevant notifications, and organized without any intentional system, your mind mirrors that chaos. Every time you search for a document you cannot find, every time you get distracted by a notification that adds no value to your life, you are training your brain to accept disorder as normal. The transformation begins with one small space. Choose a single drawer, a single folder on your computer, a single app on your phone. Remove everything that does not belong there. Keep only what serves your current life and your future goals. Feel the sense of relief and clarity that comes from this simple act of intention. This is not about minimalism for its own sake. This is about creating an environment that supports the person you are becoming rather than reminding you of the person you used to be. This is about surrounding yourself with things that inspire action rather than things that encourage procrastination. When you organize your physical space, you are not just rearranging objects. You are creating a visual representation of your commitment to live with intention. When you streamline your digital environment, you are not just deleting files. You are choosing to protect your attention from the thousand small distractions that steal your focus throughout the day. The goal is not to live in a sterile environment devoid of personality or comfort. The goal is to create a space where every element supports your highest potential, where you can think clearly, work effectively, and rest peacefully, where your environment serves your purpose rather than undermining it. Start with your workspace. Clear your desk of everything except what you need for today's most important tasks. Organize your digital files into folders that make sense for your current projects and goals. Turn off notifications that do not require immediate attention. Create a space that invites productivity rather than distraction. Then extend this intentionality to your living space. Walk through each room and ask yourself, does this serve the life I am creating or the life I am leaving behind? Keep what adds value, beauty, or function to your daily experience. Remove what exists simply because you have not taken the time to make a conscious choice about it. Your environment is a reflection of your inner state, but it is also a creator of your inner state. When you live in organized, intentional surroundings, you feel more organized and intentional. When your space breathes with possibility, you breathe with possibility. This is not about perfection. This is about intention. This is not about having less for the sake of having less. This is about making room for more of what matters by removing what does not. Your space should support your dreams, not suffocate them. Make it so. Number 5, set boundaries and clean your emotional space. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but you are also the product of every conversation that drains your energy, every relationship that demands more than it gives, every interaction that leaves you feeling smaller rather than larger. Your emotional space is as real as your physical space, and it requires the same level of intentional curation. Look at the people in your life with the same scrutiny you would give to the contents of your closet. Which relationships energize you, and which ones exhaust you? Which conversations inspire you to grow, and which ones pull you back into patterns you are trying to escape? Which people celebrate your progress, and which ones subtly undermine your efforts to change? This is not about judging others or deciding who is worthy of your time based on superficial criteria. This is about recognizing that your emotional energy is finite and precious, and that you have both the right and the responsibility to protect it. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot maintain your own growth while constantly absorbing other people's negativity, drama, and resistance to change. The people around you are either lifting you up or pulling you down. They are either supporting your evolution or anchoring you to who you used to be. There is no neutral ground when it comes to human influence. Every interaction is either feeding your soul or starving it. Think of your emotional space as a garden. A garden requires not just the addition of good things like water, sunlight, and nutrients, but also the removal of bad things like weeds, pests, and diseased plants. You cannot create a thriving garden by only focusing on what you add while ignoring what you allow to remain that does not belong. I once counseled a woman who could not understand why she felt constantly drained despite her efforts to improve her life. She was reading inspiring books, attending seminars, and working hard on her personal development. Yet every evening she felt exhausted, not physically but emotionally. When we examined her relationships, the pattern became clear. She was surrounded by people who, while not malicious, were committed to staying exactly where they were. Every conversation pulled her back into old patterns of thinking. Every interaction reminded her of limitations rather than possibilities. She was trying to fly while carrying the weight of everyone else's fear of heights. The transformation came when she made one of the most difficult but necessary decisions of her life. She began to spend less time with people who drained her energy and more time with people who inspired her growth. This did not mean abandoning everyone, but it did mean setting clear boundaries about how much of her precious emotional energy she would invest in relationships that consistently left her feeling depleted. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is self-respect in action. It is recognizing that your peace of mind, your emotional well-being, and your capacity to grow are valuable resources that deserve protection. When you fail to set boundaries, you are not being kind to others. You are being irresponsible with the gifts you have been given. Some relationships will naturally evolve as you grow. People who once felt like close friends may begin to feel like strangers as your values and priorities shift. This is not a failure of friendship. It is a natural consequence of growth. Not everyone will understand or support the person you are becoming, and that is not your problem to solve. The practical aspect of cleaning your emotional space begins with a simple but powerful question. After spending time with this person, do I feel more like the person I want to become or less like that person? Do I feel energized and inspired, or do I feel drained and diminished? This does not mean you should only surround yourself with people who agree with everything you do or think. Healthy challenge and honest feedback are gifts. But there is a difference between someone who challenges you to grow and someone who challenges your right to grow. There is a difference between someone who offers constructive feedback and someone who consistently undermines your confidence and vision. You also must examine the habits and activities that shape your emotional state. What are you consuming mentally and emotionally throughout the day? What news, entertainment, and conversations are you allowing into your consciousness? Are these inputs helping you become the person you want to be, or are they keeping you stuck in patterns of fear, anger, and limitation? The goal is not to live in a bubble of positivity that ignores reality. The goal is to create an emotional environment that supports your growth while still engaging meaningfully with the world around you. This means choosing your inputs as carefully as a master chef chooses ingredients for an important meal. Start by identifying one relationship or habit that consistently drains your energy without adding value to your life. Set a boundary. This might mean limiting the time you spend with certain people, changing the topics you are willing to discuss, or removing sources of negativity from your daily routine. Then, intentionally seek out people and experiences that inspire and energize you. This might mean joining groups of people who share your commitment to growth, seeking mentors who embody the qualities you admire, or simply spending more time with friends who believe in your potential. Remember, you are not responsible for managing other people's emotions, fixing their problems, or sacrificing your own well-being to make them comfortable. You are responsible for creating an emotional environment that allows you to flourish and contribute your gifts to the world. Your emotional space is sacred territory. Guard it with the same vigilance you would guard anything precious and irreplaceable, because it is. Number 6, plan your life from vision to weekly goals. Most people spend more time planning their vacation than planning their life. They will research hotels, map out routes, and schedule every detail of a week away, but they will live year after year without any clear sense of where they are going or how they plan to get there. They mistake motion for progress and busyness for achievement, then wonder why they feel like they are running in circles. The difference between those who achieve extraordinary things and those who live ordinary lives is not talent, luck, or circumstances. It is the clarity of vision and the discipline of planning. It is the ability to see beyond the immediate and urgent to the important and enduring. It is the wisdom to know that a life without direction is a life that goes nowhere, no matter how fast it moves. You cannot hit a target you cannot see. You cannot reach a destination you have not defined. You cannot build a meaningful life without first envisioning what that life looks like. Yet most people live as if goals are optional, as if planning is for other people, as if somehow their dreams will magically manifest without the discipline of deliberate action. Your vision is not a wish or a fantasy. It is a destination that pulls you forward, a magnetic force that gives direction to your daily choices, a picture of possibility that inspires you to become the person capable of making it real. Without vision, you are not living. You are merely existing, reacting to whatever demands your attention loudest, rather than creating the life that calls to your deepest aspirations. But vision alone is not enough. Vision without planning remains a dream. Planning without action remains a wish. The magic happens when you translate your vision into goals, your goals into plans, and your plans into daily actions that move you inevitably toward the life you are meant to live. Think of your life as a magnificent building you are constructing. Your vision is the architectural drawing that shows what the finished structure will look like. Your yearly goals are the major phases of construction. Your monthly goals are the specific systems that need to be completed. Your weekly plans are the detailed tasks that transform raw materials into reality. I knew a man who spent years feeling frustrated and stuck, wondering why his life never seemed to change despite his best efforts. He worked hard, he tried to stay positive, he read books and attended seminars. Yet year after year, he found himself in essentially the same place, with the same challenges, living the same patterns. The problem was not his effort or his intentions. The problem was that he had never taken the time to clearly define what he wanted his life to become and then work backward to create a plan for getting there. When he finally committed to this process, everything changed. Not overnight, but inevitably. He started with his vision. What did he want his life to look like in 5 years? What kind of person did he want to become? What legacy did he want to create? Then he worked backward. What needed to happen in year 1 to move toward that vision? What needed to happen this month, this week, today? The transformation was not in the complexity of his plan, but in the clarity of his direction. Suddenly, decisions became easier because he had criteria for making them. Opportunities became clearer because he knew what he was looking for. His energy became focused because he was no longer trying to do everything but was committed to doing the right things. This is the power of planning. It transforms hope into strategy, wishes into systems, and dreams into destinations you can actually reach. But planning is not about creating rigid structures that imprison you. It is about creating flexible frameworks that free you from the tyranny of constant decision-making about what matters most. When you plan your week, you are not just organizing your time. You are designing your life. You are choosing who you will become through the accumulation of daily choices. You are taking responsibility for the direction of your existence rather than leaving it to chance, mood, or circumstance. The practical process is simpler than most people imagine, but more powerful than they realize. Start with your vision for the next year. What do you want to have accomplished, experienced, or become? Break that vision into quarterly milestones, then monthly objectives, then weekly priorities. Each week, spend time reviewing your progress and planning the week ahead. What are the 3 most important things you need to accomplish to move toward your larger goals? What obstacles might arise, and how will you handle them? What support do you need, and how will you get it? This weekly planning session becomes a sacred appointment with your future self. It is a time to step back from the urgency of daily demands and reconnect with the importance of your deeper purpose. It is a time to ensure that your actions are aligned with your aspirations. But remember, the goal of planning is not to eliminate spontaneity or flexibility from your life. The goal is to ensure that your spontaneity serves your purpose rather than undermining it. When you have a clear plan, you can afford to be flexible because you know what you are being flexible about. Organization does not confine, it liberates. Planning does not restrict, it focuses. When you know where you are going and how you plan to get there, you are free to enjoy the journey without the anxiety of wondering if you are moving in the right direction. Your life is too precious to leave to chance. Your dreams are too important to hope they will somehow happen without your deliberate participation. Your potential is too valuable to waste on activities that do not move you closer to who you are meant to become. Plan your life like it matters, because it does. Number 7, organize and care for your body. Your body is not just the vehicle that carries you through life. It is the foundation upon which every dream, every goal, every aspiration must be built. Without energy, there is no sustained effort. Without health, there is no lasting success. Without the discipline to care for your physical self, there is no credibility to your promises about caring for anything else. Yet you treat your body like an afterthought, a machine that should function perfectly regardless of how you maintain it. You feed it foods that drain your energy, then wonder why you feel tired. You deny it the movement it craves, then wonder why you feel sluggish. You rob it of the sleep it needs, then wonder why you cannot think clearly or feel emotionally balanced. The relationship between your physical state and your mental clarity is not coincidental. When your body is strong, your mind is sharp. When your body is energized, your spirit is lifted. When your body is well rested, your emotions are stable. This is not mystical theory. This is biological reality. Think of your body as the instrument through which you create your life's masterpiece. A musician would never neglect their instrument, leaving it untuned, uncleaned, and uncared for, then expect it to produce beautiful music. Yet this is exactly how most people treat the only instrument they will ever have for creating the life they desire. Your body keeps score of every choice you make, every meal that nourishes or depletes, every movement that strengthens or weakens, every hour of sleep that restores or robs you of vitality. It does not judge your choices, but it faithfully reflects them in your energy levels, your mood, your capacity to handle stress, and your ability to pursue your goals with consistency and power. I once worked with a brilliant entrepreneur who had built a successful business but felt like he was slowly dying inside. Despite his external success, he woke up exhausted, struggled through his days in a fog of fatigue, and went to bed feeling depleted rather than satisfied. His mind was sharp for business, but his body was failing him in every other area of life. The transformation began when he recognized that his physical neglect was not separate from his professional and personal challenges. It was the root cause of many of them. He committed to treating his body with the same attention and investment he gave his business. He began eating foods that energized rather than depleted him, moving his body daily, and prioritizing sleep as a non-negotiable foundation for everything else he wanted to accomplish. Within months, everything changed. Not just his physical energy, but his mental clarity, his emotional resilience, and his capacity to handle the demands of his life. He realized that caring for his body was not time taken away from his important work. It was the foundation that made his important work possible. The organization of your body begins with 3 fundamental pillars: nutrition, movement, and rest. These are not complicated concepts requiring advanced degrees or expensive equipment. They are simple principles that require only the commitment to treat yourself with the respect and care you deserve. Nutrition is not about perfect diets or eliminating all foods you enjoy. It is about recognizing that food is fuel and that the quality of your fuel directly impacts the quality of your performance. When you eat foods that nourish your body, you feel energized, focused, and capable. When you eat foods that deplete your body, you feel sluggish, scattered, and weak. Movement is not about becoming an athlete or spending hours in the gym. It is about honoring the fact that your body was designed to move, and that movement is not optional for optimal functioning. Even simple activities like walking, stretching, or climbing stairs can dramatically improve your energy, mood, and mental clarity. Rest is not a luxury you earn after you have accomplished everything on your to-do list. It is a requirement for optimal performance, creativity, and emotional stability. Quality sleep is when your body repairs itself, your mind processes information, and your spirit restores itself for the challenges ahead. The practical implementation of body organization starts with small, sustainable changes that compound over time. Drink more water throughout the day. Take a short walk during your lunch break. Go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Choose foods that make you feel energized rather than sluggish. These may seem like insignificant changes, but they send a powerful message to your unconscious mind. I value myself enough to take care of the body that carries me through life. I recognize that my physical well-being is the foundation of everything else I want to accomplish. As you begin to experience the increased energy, mental clarity, and emotional stability that come from caring for your body, you will understand that this is not about vanity or perfection. This is about respect. Respect for the miraculous instrument you have been given. Respect for the only vehicle you will ever have for pursuing your dreams. Respect for yourself and the life you are creating. Your body is not your enemy that needs to be controlled or conquered. It is your ally that deserves to be nourished, strengthened, and honored. When you organize your physical care with the same intentionality you bring to other important areas of your life, you discover that everything else becomes easier. A strong body supports a strong mind. An energized body supports an ambitious spirit. A well-cared-for body supports a well-lived life. Treat your body like the temple it is, and it will serve you like the faithful friend it can become. Number 8, organize your finances. Money is never just about money. Money is about freedom, security, choices, and peace of mind. Money is about having options when life presents challenges and opportunities. Money is about the ability to live according to your values rather than being forced to compromise them because of financial pressure. Yet you live with financial chaos and wonder why you feel anxious, scattered, and powerless. You spend without tracking, save without purpose, and plan without knowledge of where you actually stand. You treat money like a mysterious force that controls you rather than a tool that you can learn to master. The relationship between financial organization and mental peace is profound and immediate. When your money is organized, when you know exactly what you have, what you owe, and where you are going financially, a weight lifts from your shoulders that you may not have even realized you were carrying. Financial disorganization is not just about numbers on a page or balances in accounts. It is about the constant low-level anxiety that comes from not knowing where you stand. It is about the decisions you avoid making because you do not have clear information. It is about the opportunities you miss because you are not prepared to seize them. It is about the sleep you lose worrying about money because you have chosen ignorance over awareness. Most people know more about their favorite sports team's statistics than they know about their own financial situation. They can tell you the batting average of their favorite player but cannot tell you their net worth. They can recite the details of the latest celebrity gossip but cannot explain where their money goes each month. This financial unconsciousness is not protecting you from anything. It is robbing you of power, peace, and possibility. Every dollar you spend without awareness is a dollar that cannot serve your deeper purpose. Every financial decision you make without information is a gamble with your future security and freedom. I knew a couple who lived in constant financial stress despite earning good incomes. They were intelligent, hard-working people who somehow always seemed to be struggling with money. They avoided looking at their bank statements, paid bills randomly when they remembered, and had no clear picture of their financial reality. Their avoidance was not protecting them from bad news, it was preventing them from taking action to create good news. When they finally committed to facing their financial truth, they discovered something surprising. Their situation was not as bad as they had feared, but it was more confused than they had imagined. Once they organized their finances, tracked their spending, and created a simple plan, their stress diminished dramatically. Not because they suddenly had more money, but because they finally knew exactly where they stood and had a clear path forward. Financial organization begins with one simple but powerful act: knowing your numbers. How much money do you have? How much do you owe? How much do you earn? How much do you spend? These are not complicated questions, but they require the courage to look at your financial reality without judgment or denial. Track every dollar that comes in and every dollar that goes out for 1 month. This is not about judgment or restriction, it is about awareness. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. You cannot improve what you do not measure. You cannot control what you do not understand. Once you have clarity about your current financial reality, you can begin to organize it with intention. Eliminate expenses that do not align with your values or contribute to your goals. Automate your savings so that paying yourself becomes as reliable as paying your bills. Create an emergency fund that gives you the security to take calculated risks and pursue opportunities. Every cent you spend represents hours of your life that you traded for money. When you spend mindlessly, you are wasting not just money, but the precious life energy you invested to earn it. When you spend consciously, you are honoring both your past effort and your future dreams. The goal is not to become obsessed with money or to live in deprivation. The goal is to ensure that your money serves your life rather than controlling it. The goal is to create financial systems that support your values and enable your dreams rather than sabotaging them. Financial organization also means planning for the future while living in the present. It means saving for goals that inspire you while still enjoying the fruits of your current labor. It means protecting yourself against possible setbacks while positioning yourself to capitalize on potential opportunities. Start by organizing your current accounts and eliminating financial clutter. Close accounts you do not use. Consolidate debts where it makes sense. Simplify your financial life so that you can manage it without stress or confusion. Then create simple systems for managing your money going forward. Automate your bills so you never have to worry about late payments. Set up automatic transfers to savings so that building wealth becomes effortless. Create a simple budget that allows you to spend freely on things you value while avoiding waste on things you do not. The peace that comes from financial organization is not about having unlimited money. It is about having clear information, intentional systems, and the confidence that comes from knowing you are making conscious choices about one of the most important tools for creating the life you desire. Your relationship with money reflects your relationship with yourself. When you organize your finances with care and intention, you are declaring that you value your security, your freedom, and your future. You are taking responsibility for your economic destiny, rather than leaving it to chance. Money organized with intention becomes a powerful ally in creating the life you envision. Money ignored or mismanaged becomes a constant source of stress and limitation. Choose to be the master of your money, not its victim. Number 9, be flexible and consistent. The path to an organized life is not a straight line drawn by a perfect person who never makes mistakes, never faces setbacks, and never has to adjust course. The path to an organized life is walked by a human being who falls down, gets up, falls down again, and keeps walking. The difference between those who succeed and those who quit is not the absence of failure, but the response to it. You will have days when your morning ritual feels impossible, when your schedule falls apart, when your best intentions crumble under the weight of unexpected demands. You will have weeks when everything you have built seems to unravel, when chaos creeps back into spaces you thought you had conquered, when you feel like you are starting over from the beginning. This is not a sign that you are failing. This is a sign that you are human. This is not evidence that organization does not work for you. This is evidence that you are learning what every master of any discipline eventually learns. Progress is not linear, perfection is not the goal, and consistency is more powerful than intensity. The mistake most people make when trying to organize their lives is believing that they must be perfect from the beginning. They create elaborate systems, make dramatic commitments, and expect themselves to execute flawlessly every single day. When they inevitably fall short of this impossible standard, they conclude that they are not disciplined enough, organized enough, or strong enough to succeed. But the real secret of sustainable organization is not perfection, it is persistence. It is not about never making mistakes, it is about making mistakes and continuing anyway. It is not about having perfect days every day, it is about returning to your systems after imperfect days and beginning again. Think of your organizational systems like a river that sometimes runs smoothly and sometimes encounters rocks, rapids, and fallen trees. The river does not stop flowing because it meets obstacles. It flows around them, over them, or through them. It adapts to the terrain while maintaining its essential direction toward the sea. I once counseled a perfectionist who had tried to organize his life dozens of times. Each attempt began with tremendous enthusiasm and elaborate systems. Each attempt ended in frustration and self-criticism when he could not maintain the impossibly high standards he had set for himself. He had convinced himself that he lacked discipline when actually he lacked self-compassion. The breakthrough came when he learned to separate his identity from his performance. His worth as a person was not determined by whether he woke up at exactly the same time every morning or followed his schedule perfectly every day. His success was not measured by the absence of setbacks, but by his response to them. When he stopped demanding perfection from himself and started celebrating consistency, everything changed. He began to see each day as a fresh opportunity to practice his systems rather than a test he could pass or fail. He learned to observe his setbacks with curiosity rather than judgment, asking what he could learn rather than why he was such a failure. This shift in perspective transformed not just his relationship with organization, but his relationship with himself. He became more patient, more resilient, and paradoxically more consistent because he was no longer exhausting himself with self-criticism every time he fell short of perfection. The key to sustainable organization is flexible consistency. This means having strong systems that you return to again and again while maintaining the flexibility to adapt those systems to changing circumstances. It means being committed to your goals while remaining open to adjusting your methods. Life will throw curveballs. Unexpected demands will arise. Plans will need to change. Systems will need to be adjusted. This is not a bug in the program of life. It is a feature. Learning to maintain your organizational integrity while adapting to changing circumstances is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. When you miss a day of your morning ritual, you do not abandon the ritual, you do it the next day. When your schedule gets disrupted by an emergency, you do not throw away your planning system. You adjust your plan and keep planning. When you spend money you had not budgeted for an unexpected expense, you do not abandon your budget. You revise it and keep tracking. The goal is not to create a perfect life, but to create a flexible framework that can withstand the inevitable imperfections of human existence. The goal is not to never fall down, but to get better at getting back up. The goal is not to eliminate all chaos from your life, but to develop the resilience to handle chaos without losing your center. Start each day with the intention to honor your systems and the wisdom to forgive yourself when you fall short. Celebrate the days when everything goes according to plan and learn from the days when nothing does. Measure your success not by your perfect days, but by your willingness to keep trying. Remember that every master was once a beginner who refused to give up. Every organized person was once disorganized, but chose to keep practicing. Every successful system was once a failed attempt that was refined and improved through experience. The path to an organized life is not about reaching a destination where everything is perfect and nothing ever goes wrong. The path to an organized life is about becoming the kind of person who can create order from chaos, find peace in the midst of storms, and keep moving forward regardless of the obstacles. Flexibility and consistency are not opposites. They are partners in the dance of sustainable transformation. When you learn to be flexibly consistent rather than rigidly perfect, you discover a way of living that is both organized and human, structured and compassionate, disciplined and forgiving. This is the way forward. This is the way home. Number 10, make order an act of self-love. The deepest truth about organizing your life has nothing to do with productivity, efficiency, or external achievement. The deepest truth is that every act of organization is a declaration of your worth, a statement of your value, a commitment to treating yourself with the love and respect you deserve. When you organize your space, you are not just arranging objects. You are creating a sanctuary for your soul. When you organize your time, you are not just managing tasks. You are honoring your life as precious and finite. When you organize your body, your finances, your relationships, you are making a profound statement. I matter. My life matters. My dreams matter enough to create the conditions that support them. Most people approach organization as a form of self-punishment, a harsh discipline imposed by a critical inner voice that demands perfection and punishes failure. They organize because they hate their chaos, not because they love their potential. They force themselves into systems because they believe they should, not because they recognize that they deserve to live with intention and beauty. But when organization comes from a place of self-love rather than self-criticism, everything changes. Instead of feeling like a burden or obligation, it becomes a gift you give to yourself. Instead of feeling restrictive, it feels liberating. Instead of feeling like work, it feels like worship of the magnificent possibility that is your life. Think about how you treat someone you deeply love. You want them to live in a beautiful, peaceful environment. You want them to eat nourishing food, get adequate rest, and surround themselves with people who cherish them. You want them to pursue their dreams, manage their resources wisely, and create a life that reflects their highest values. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you treated yourself with this same level of care and consideration? When was the last time you organized your life, not because you thought you should, but because you recognized that you deserve to live beautifully? The shift from organizing as obligation to organizing as self-love transforms not just your external circumstances, but your internal experience. When you clean your space because you love yourself enough to live in beauty, the cleaning becomes meditation. When you plan your week because you value your time and dreams, the planning becomes a sacred ritual. When you care for your body because you recognize it as the temple of your spirit, the caring becomes worship. I remember a woman who had struggled with organization her entire life. She saw it as proof of her inadequacy, evidence that she was not disciplined or worthy enough to live a beautiful life. Every attempt to organize felt like self-punishment. Every failure felt like confirmation of her unworthiness. The transformation came when she realized that her resistance to organization was actually resistance to loving herself. She had been trying to force herself into systems that felt punitive rather than nurturing. When she began to approach organization as an expression of self-care rather than self-control, everything shifted. She started by asking herself, what would someone who deeply loved me want for my living space? What kind of environment would support my creativity, my peace, my joy? How would someone who believed in my worth organize my time, my resources, my life? As she began to organize from this place of love rather than criticism, she discovered something beautiful. Organization was not about becoming someone else. It was about creating conditions that allowed her true self to flourish. It was not about fixing what was wrong with her. It was about honoring what was right with her. Every organized drawer became a love letter to her future self. Every planned week became an investment in her dreams. Every healthy choice became a declaration of her value. Every boundary she set became an act of self-respect. This is the secret that transforms organization from drudgery into joy. When you recognize that you are worthy of beauty, order, peace, and intention, creating these things stops feeling like work and starts feeling like love in action. The practical expression of this truth is simple but profound. Celebrate every act of organization, no matter how small. When you make your bed, acknowledge that you are creating beauty in your space. When you plan your day, recognize that you are honoring your time as precious. When you choose nourishing food, celebrate that you are loving your body. This is not about becoming narcissistic or self-indulgent. This is about recognizing that you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot create beauty in the world if you do not believe you deserve to live beautifully. You cannot serve others powerfully if you do not treat yourself with respect and care. Every moment you spend organizing your life is an investment in your capacity to contribute to the world. Every system you create that supports your well-being increases your ability to support others. Every act of self-love ripples outward, creating permission for others to love themselves as well. The ultimate goal of organizing your life is not to impress others, achieve more, or prove your worth. The ultimate goal is to create a life so aligned with your values, so supportive of your dreams, so reflective of your love for yourself, that living it becomes a form of prayer, a work of art, a celebration of the miraculous gift that is your existence. When you organize your life as an act of self-love, you are not just creating order. You are creating a masterpiece. You are not just managing resources. You are stewarding a sacred trust. You are not just improving your circumstances. You are honoring the divine spark that lives within you. Start today. Start now. Look around at your life and ask, how can I love myself more fully through the way I organize this space, this time, this precious existence I have been given? Then begin, not because you should, but because you deserve to live beautifully. Because you do. You are standing at the threshold of a new way of being. Everything you have discovered here is not information to be consumed and forgotten. It is a blueprint to be lived, a map to be followed, a promise to be kept with yourself every single day. The person who began this journey is not the same person who stands here now. You have been introduced to your own power, awakened to your own potential, reminded of your own worth. The chaos that once seemed overwhelming now reveals itself as merely the raw material from which you will build something extraordinary. Think of your life as a cathedral under construction. Every organized space is a stone carefully placed. Every intentional choice is a beam supporting something greater. Every act of self-love is a window that lets in light. You are not just organizing your circumstances, you are architecting your destiny. The voice that once whispered you were not capable of change has grown quiet. In its place rises your true voice, declaring that you are the master of your own existence. The systems you create, the boundaries you set, the love you show yourself are the foundation stones of who you are becoming. Subscribe to this journey of transformation, because what we are building together extends far beyond any single moment of inspiration. This is the beginning of a conversation between who you have been and who you are meant to become. Every morning when you wake, you will remember that order is created by you for the world. Every choice in favor of intention over impulse, organization over chaos, self-love over neglect is a vote for your highest self. You are not the same person who feared change. You are the person who creates it.